Welcome to the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. Our mission is the conservation and better understanding of whales, dolphins and porpoises in Irish waters through study, education and interpretation.
We coordinate all Ireland's stranding and sighting schemes to learn what species occur where and when. This helps us to develop conservation policies and strategies, but also to help people go out and see these magnificent creatures in Irish waters for themselves.
We run a research vessel, Celtic Mist, for our members to sail on and learn how to identify and record whales, dolphins and porpoises in Ireland.
Our local groups are made up of lots of different people with a shared passion for whales and dolphins in Ireland and the oceans. We run many long-term projects, including the Shannon Dolphins and Whale Track Ireland.
Our work is also international. We have travelled to Iceland and Cabo Verde as we share whale populations with these island nations.
Our consulting wing provides specialist services to inform management and industry and generates income to support our work.
The island of Ireland is only 10% of the whole of Ireland. The other 90% is a marine environment and home to some of the most amazing marine wildlife in the world.
I never get tired of watching that video. I think it's great. Well, welcome to the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group second webinar, live webinar for Science Week, entitled, Can We Speak Whale?
That is the question we're going to try and figure out.
Well, I can speak whale. I've been speaking whale for years, so I hope you're all practicing back home.
I'm still learning.
Yeah,
Getting there, though.
You can do it in Belgium. So I'm Simon Barrow. I'm CEO of the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group, based here in Kilrush in West Clare, and delighted to have two good friends and guests with us this evening, where we're going to be talking about science, which is very important to the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. So Science Week is an annual event, as I'm sure you're all aware. And this year we are exploring the theme of regeneration and diving into topics that highlight the importance of marine research, conservation and citizen science in safeguarding our oceans. And there's never been a more important time to do that, given the pressures on our waters, both inshore and offshore, but also the opportunities. The opportunities in the marine sector are second to none. They've never been as positive ever since I've been working in this sector. So it's a great time for young people to build their interest in marine, build their experience and get out there and protect our beautiful oceans and the animals swimming in them. So Science Week, which is funded by Research Ireland, formerly known as Science Foundation Ireland for us old heads, provides a fantastic opportunity to learn from experts, exchange ideas, have the chat and discover how each of us can contribute to a more sustainable future for our marine ecosystems. And as we are going through this evening, if you have questions, please put them up in the chat, and we might come to them through the evening, or we might save some of them towards the end. Just to let you know that we are recording this webinar this evening, so if anybody is uncomfortable with that, I suppose you turn your camera off. We have a feedback form which is online, I think, at the end of the webinar. So please give us your feedback so we can make things better. or worse. If it's so positive, we can try and make things worse. And remember, this is one of a series of 4 webinars throughout the week, every night, 6 till 7. And then we culminate in a live event in the Courtauld and Sweeney Library in Kilkee on Friday. And you're all very welcome. Okay. So I'm joined this evening by 2 colleagues. We have Miguel Blasquez, who is a PhD candidate at the Atlantic Technological University, formerly the Goy Mayo Institute of Zoology, a Lau title, and has been working really closely with the Irish Whale Dolphin Group for the last 3 years. Welcome, Miguel.
Thank you very much, Simon. I'm very happy to be here.
Great to have you here. And I also have Emily Delucen, who is actually a new staff member of the Irish Whale Dolphin Group. We're very lucky to have such a brilliant woman working with us, working on this new EU-funded project called Whale Deal. So you're welcome.
Thank you, Simon. I'm excited to talk about it today.
Excellent. So, I suppose we're focusing on kind of large whales. Miguel's mainly working on humpback whales, whereas Emily is looking at
anything big, really.
All whales, but she's looking at big things that are collision risk. So, okay. So, without further ado, Miguel, we will explore some of the work you're doing. I think you're doing fantastic stuff. I have to say, Miguel is a great PhD student. He's a model PhD student. He's come over and doing great work. Now, I know you're working with great people, Miguel, and I have to shout out to Porrick Hooley, who was on last night, and Nick Massett in West Kerry, who have been forging ahead with the humpback whale work in Ireland for the last 20 years. And to have Miguel come in and use the data to build really robust scientific knowledge, on the data the group collects using citizen science, which we were talking about last night. I think it's you've proven what a fantastic model we have, where we can have hard-nosed scientists like you building your trade based on long-term data sets, which a group are really good at collecting. So, so Miguel, just tell us how you got to where you are at.
Well, I'd say my journey is way longer than what you could think, really. I'm from Madrid, so I grew up quite far from the sea. But in spite of this, I always felt a very strong fascination with marine life and particularly cetaceans. And I do remember myself being a little kid, sitting on the sofa and watching these fantastic documentaries on the TV, and telling myself, well, that's what I would like to do one day. And I think I always had this willing in myself, and that's what pushed me to study biology in the first place. I studied there in Madrid, but once I finished as a graduate, I enrolled in an international master's degree that eventually took me to Galway, where I met you, Simon. I also got to know the activity of the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. I even participated as a research assistant during the summer. And eventually, that also led me to start the PhD here. So, and here I am at the moment. That's a bit of the summary.
Was there any particular program that you're saying that you were watching programs? You're saying, like, because that's my story as well. Saying I can do that. Was there any particular programs? Or I don't know what the equivalent would be in Spain. Was it like the David Attenboroughs? Was it Jacques Cousteau? Who inspired you?
I wouldn't say anyone in particular. Like, it was something that I enjoyed. I remember that I had like this VHF, videos like from the National Geographic and these kind of things. And I remember that I used to watch them over and over again, like the same thing all the time. But yeah, I do remember, for example, the recordings of humpback whales done by Roger Payne, for example. That was quite cathartic to some extent. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, I think that turned a whole generation, a whole cohort. I think it just probably the same with you. You must remembered Roger Payne's song "The Humpback Whale."
He was beautiful.
Yeah, it's good. And I think it's nice that you say that, Miguel, because, you know, being from Madrid, as you said, a long way from the sea, we often say in Ireland, we're all islanders. And we challenge people to live in Cavan and Longford and Offaly in the heart of Ireland. You're not very far from the sea. You know, nowhere in Ireland is more than an hour and a half, really. And that's so important that people who, you know, young people living in the Midlands, surrounded by fields and farming, should have the opportunity and the wish, the desire to go down a marine route as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you want it and you pursue it, you can get it, of course. It's never too far from the sea. I think
No,
that's
I know.
the lesson I can tell.
With climate change, the sea's coming to us a bit quicker, so we're even closer to the sea. Okay, we'll before we talk in more detail, I think you've done a presentation for us on your work, which is fantastic work. So we'll have a look at that, and then we'll have a chat about your work, Miguel.
Sure, go for it.
Is it playing?
It's moving at the bottom, so
It's like it's stuck, is it? So to it's there, but it's not playing. So to try and make things smooth, some of our colleagues prepare a talk so that it's all run smoothly, and it's not running smoothly.
technical difficulties will follow us everywhere.
I don't know, piece of paper and a pencil, you can't beat it.
Yeah, but it was working, so I'm not sure. Can't hear him.
I mean, Miguel could probably talk through the presentation, but we'll it was working earlier, wasn't it? Played.
Can the people hear it at home, or is it just our side that's not hearing it? If anyone can hear it, do let us know.
Yeah.
We're having some trouble with the sound at the moment.
Is it just the sound, or is it the running? Okay.
No, it does show the picture.
Okay. Well, look, while you're sorting that out, Emily.
Yes.
You know, we'll talk to you later about your work, but how did you get on your journey?
Well, for me, it was very similar to Miguel, but it wasn't National Geographic that caught my attention. I watched Free Willy when I was younger,
Free Willy,
and that was it for me, really. I was like, yeah, I want to save the killer whales. I want to get them out. And then as I grew up, I kind of realized, okay, I'll have to do a bit more of a technical approach to this. I can't just break into an aquarium. Yeah, no problem.
Is our audio on there?
He can talk. Yeah, he can talk maybe through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remove it and
we can give that a try.
Yeah. Go on, you tell us, Marie.
Sorry about that.
Go on, Emily. Finish your Free Willy story.
Yeah, my Free Willy story. Yeah, so it started at age 6, and then I didn't really know how to get from wanting to save whales to actually taking part in actually the saving of them. So I just, as any good student, studied diligently at school. I disliked the biology classes in high school because it was all plants and human reproduction, and I was like, give me the ocean. But I joined some extracurricular activities that were all to do with biology and environment, which was great. And that set me up perfectly to start my bachelor in biology at the University of Ghent back at home.
Okay.
So that was very broad. It gave me a good understanding of just general biological aspects.
You're born and bred in Belgium, so you're probably quite close to the coast anyway.
Well, yeah, Belgium's small enough that everything's close by. So it's an hour and a half by car approximately from my home.
Oh, is that far? Okay, it'll be close enough.
By Belgium standards, that's like leagues away. So it wouldn't be that common.
As far as Offaly is, though, from West Clare.
Yeah.
So
takes a sec to get there, but yeah, I mean, we still have, like, Belgium doesn't have the same kind of coastlines and stuff like that as in Ireland. So it's all sandy beaches and grey water. So beautiful in the sun to go tanning in the summer months, and you can do some intertidal pooling, but you don't have the dramatic cliffs to do watches and stuff like that.
You have a few marine mammals swimming.
Oh yeah. We've got our seals mainly. They're a big hype in Belgium. Every spring, people panic because there's baby seals everywhere. You don't know what to do with them.
And now look at you now, working on big whales in Ireland.
Exactly.
Not so bad.
Exactly.
Is that technical problem solved? Do you want to try play? And if not, Miguel will be able to talk over it.
See, I don't know what's the problem because it was.
Okay, well, we'll try that now.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Yeah.
Come on, StreamYard.
Maybe it needs to
mute us or something. Oh, see, it's there.
It's not even running.
And
Okay. Miguel, do you have your presentation on your computer? No.
Let me.
Or do we? Oh,
Because
you can see this. So Chilla can
yeah,
put that image up now, and you can talk over it and just tell her to move on. How's that work?
perhaps I didn't practice, but I will try. I can try.
Ah,
No
look,
problem.
you're a professional. You know,
A bit of
professional.
professional, yeah.
It's a test of you, Miguel.
Oh yeah, you're an
It
expert
is.
at
It
the
is.
topic, so we've got full confidence in you now.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
think we'll have
true.
to
That's
try that.
true.
It's not going to work.
That's true.
Okay. All right.
That's
Okay.
true. No
Take two.
problem. Yeah.
So, Miguel, having put
All
the
right.
time to make the presentation, now you're live and kicking.
Oh well. Well, these are the problems of being live, you know. But that's fine. No worries. Well, thank you again, everyone, for attending. So my presentation was going to be about what or how drones can be used in citation research. And I want to present you a series of different examples, um, mainly because drones have been a very important part of my own research as a PhD student. And I think it's a very novel and very interesting field that is growing at the moment. And I think you will find it interesting. So next.
Do you want to mute us?
I think this is the second. Yeah, this is the first one. Yeah, sorry. So as an introduction, I just wanted to highlight that drones, or in other words, unmanned aircraft systems, which is the proper term, um, are very diverse at the moment. This is a technology that has evolved quite a lot, and they are applied to very different or in very different fields like agriculture or the inspection of infrastructure, leisure, unfortunately, as we know, in warfare as well. And but they're also used in environmental monitoring or wildlife research, which is the field that we're interested in. So the next one, please. And also, of course, because of all this diversity, drones have become a very popular item among marine mammal researchers, mainly because they have become affordable, they are very easy to use, and because they have completely changed the way we observe cetaceans, making them more accessible, providing new points of view, and therefore new research opportunities. And despite of the vignette that you can see now on the screen, you see that very annoyed humpback whale there. Um, they are actually less invasive, or they have provided less invasive approaches to obtain information of these animals, and therefore they help improve the welfare of cetaceans during research activities. So next one. So now I'm going to start with the examples of how drones can be applied in citation research. My first sample is abundance. As you know, well, abundance is the number of individuals of a same species that we have in a specific area during a specific period of time. And probably some of you are already familiar with it, but a way to estimate cetacean abundance is photo identification. For those who are not familiar with photo identification, is just the ability we have to identify individuals of the same species using the natural markings, for example, coloration patterns that they have on their skin. And this works very well with some species. For example, I could think of the bottlenose dolphin or the humpback whale, but it's quite challenging, or it's been quite challenging with some species, for example, the fin whale. But some researchers have realized that fin whales present um, particular specific individual specific patterns on the back, calling chevron, etc. And we are able to identify individual fin whales using these patterns when we collect pictures of them taken from a drone. And as an example of this new novel technique, more than 200 individuals have been identified of the Catalan coast of Spain. So next one, please. Oh, that's a pity. We cannot see the videos. In this case, what I wanted to present here is that drones can be also used for the deployment or other devices. For example, GPS tags, accelerometers, the recorders, hydrophones, cameras, um, very different types of devices that can provide very different types of information on the situations. In the video above, what you could see if the video was playing is a fin whale, a blue whale of the United States being tagged using a drone that is hovering above the whale. And in the second video, what you could see actually is the traditional way that was used to tag whales some years ago, which usually involves the boat or a little boat to get very close to the whale, uh, producing usually stressful situations for the animals and also putting the researchers in risky situations. So next, please. Another application of drones is photogrammetry. Photogrammetry means basically the estimation of the body size of the whale. In other words, to tell how big they actually are. And this is possible using drones because the virtual size of the animal, of the whale in the picture is directly related with the real size of the whale in real life. And simply applying a series of parameters, as you can see on the picture, including the altitude of the drone, we are able to estimate the real body size. And knowing the body size is interesting for us because it's directly correlated with age. So longer animals are older. And this is particularly interesting in population monitoring, for example, as we can have a better idea of for example, the proportion of adults and juveniles that we have in a specific population or in a specific area, which is relevant because this may have important implications for their conservation. Next. And this is an example of what photogrammetry derived by drones can or look like. I'm particularly proud of this one because this is our own data set. This is the data that I used for my PhD. Okay, so in the graphs here are the size or the body length distribution of humpback whales along different areas in the Northeast Atlantic. Namely Cape Verde, Ireland, Iceland, and Norway. And as you can see on the graph on top, in Cape Verde, for example, we have a larger proportion of larger individuals or adults in this case, individuals in red, which is something that we could expect because Cape Verde is a breeding ground, so the humpbacks go there mainly for reproduction. If we look at other areas, for example, in Ireland and Norway, we have a mixed situation in which we have a similar proportion of adults and juvenile whales. However, in Iceland, on the other hand, we have a very large proportion of juveniles and only two adult whales. And if you look at the graphs at the bottom of the picture, I think perhaps they are very little at the moment, but basically what I wanted to demonstrate with them, or what we discovered using the data in Ireland, is that young individuals would prefer to stay closer to the shore, whereas older individuals or those larger animals tend to be farther out, which is relevant because that means that younger animals, whales that are less, they're still learning how to deal with the world. They are more exposed to human activity, so they're in a riskier situation. So next, please. Another application of photogrammetry is the estimation on body condition, or in other words, it's a way to measure how fat the whales are. There are different mathematical ways to do it, as you can see to the right of the picture, although you don't have to worry about the formulas. Um, Knowing or having a better idea of the body condition of whales is interesting for us because if we're able to tell if whales gain or lose body mass throughout time, give us an idea of the state of the ecosystem in which they live. For example, if they gain body mass, it's good news because it means that they are finding enough food out there and they're able to, increase their reserves of energy. But on the other hand, if they are losing body condition, it means that they are not finding food and they are starving. So it means that the quality of that habitat is not good enough for them. Next, please. And this again an example using our own data set. As similarly as before, on top, the top graphs include the two body condition index, or two different ways to measure body condition. And as you can see in orange, we have the whales from Cape Verde, which have the higher body condition, which is something that I think we could expect since in breeding grounds you usually would find the fittest whales, the ones that are prepared to overtake the migration to the breeding grounds and also the competition for the reproduction. And as you can see, looking at the different feeding grounds in Iceland, Ireland, and Norway, Iceland is the feeding ground with the lowest body condition, which is something I guess that the researchers over there will have to worry about. And on the graphs below, simply the evolution of body condition throughout time. And as you can see in green, that those are the data from Ireland. It means that the whales, the humpback whales in Ireland, increase their body condition throughout time, which is fantastic news for us. And on the contrary, either in Norway and Iceland, the body condition either decrease or it stays flat. So it means that they are struggling over there. So next. I think there's another one before. That one. So a final application of drones in cetacean research, and this is a pity because we cannot see the video here, but on the picture I think you can get an idea of this, is the collection of biological samples of different kinds. The procedure is very simple. We simply would attach some sterile surface like the Petri dishes that you can see on the picture there. And we would fly the drone and make sure that we fly low enough to make so the drone flies through the blow of the whale when it's breathing at the surface. Next. There you go. And this is some just some examples of the outputs or the things that we can do with those biological samples. On top of the picture, for example, we have an example of sex determination using DNA that was contained in the blow of two humpback whales here in Ireland. And this is interesting because probably this works similarly to humans, as you probably know. Females would have two chromosome X and males would have one chromosome Y and one chromosome X. So we can target in specific genes that are specific to each chromosome, we can visualize, as you can see, if a whale is either a female or a male. Another thing that we can do with blows is microbiological studies. On the left bottom corner, you can see an example of a study in which they used blow samples to identify the different biodiversity of bacteria, viruses, funguses, etc., that live inside the respiratory tract of humpbacks. And which is interesting to know because the diversity of this microbiota is related to the general health state of these animals. So it is a way to estimate in what is their health like. And in addition to that, we can also study the endocrinology of the whales. In this study, for example, they targeted testosterone and progesterone, which are typically sex-related hormones, but other types of hormones like cortisol, for example, that is the hormone of stress, can be used. So overall, these kind of things provide us a big picture of the state of the animals and on the population. So next, please. And this just to wrap up, to get some conclusions, is I would like to highlight again that drones have been a revolution in marine mammal research because they have provided unprecedented research opportunities and at the same time reducing and mitigating the potential impacts that the interaction with researchers may have for the animals. And it is a growing field, so there's still lots of things to do, lots of things to learn, and probably these novel techniques will provide new information that will help us to protect the cetaceans and conserve their habitats in a good state. So that's it. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thanks, Miguel. Sorry for the technical problems to put you on the
Thank you.
spot there, but you handled it well. We were just discussing this with Fluky Flukeflace,
Yeah.
and he's been whispering in my ear for the last 10 years, but unfortunately we can't speak whale. Now, Emily says she can, so hopefully she can interpret what Fluky Flukeflace says. I suppose, Ireland is a feeding ground for whales. Through the use of drones, we now know, we've always thought our whales were quite small, but you've actually given us measurements. You've shown that small whales are close to shore, larger whales are offshore, and you've shown an increase in body mass, so they are actually feeding well. So it's such good data, and obviously it's up to us as an NGO to try and use that information to try and protect the feeding grounds, because clearly that's our role, and to reduce stress, encourage whale watching, but not to the detriment of the whale. So it's really important work, Miguel. I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
How difficult was it to learn to fly a drone from a boat over a whale?
It didn't took that much, to be honest. Like, I think it's a binary situation in which either you learn or you are, dead, and you lose the drone. So you have to learn quickly. It's true that I already had some experience flying drones on land, so it wasn't completely from 0 to 100, but I think it didn't took that much. It's true that what it did took time, it was to really feel comfortable with the situation and confident about it, because it is a tricky environment to work with a drone, because it's a very little space. The boat is moving up and down, so for example, takeoff and landing is always a bit tricky, or it can be tricky. But once you learn how to deal with those situations, it's quite straightforward.
All right, so you can tell the truth, Miguel. How many drones did you lose during your work?
None. No, that's true. Just one. Just one. Yeah, we lost one.
That's not bad. Well, I lost one without doing any decent research, so I have fair play to you. No, they are an amazing tool, but we do have to be careful that people who are using drones over whales use them responsibly and don't
Yes.
cause undue stress and ultimately change your behavior. So I'm sure you've seen a bit of that as well in your time in Ireland.
I have seen it, yeah. And I would like also to highlight something that I forgot in my presentation, is the fact that there is a series of permits and licenses that are granted by the National Parks and Wildlife Service that are required for this kind of things. So all my work has been permitted by the local authorities, and therefore it means that you shouldn't be flying a drone over wildlife if you don't have these permits, right? So I think it's a good opportunity to transmit this message here that
Yeah, that's
we
only
have to
come in
do
since you did
things
your work.
properly.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually, as a group, we are writing guidelines for the Wildlife Service to roll out in the new marine park in Kerry. So, and again, your work has contributed to that. I think also what you managed to do, and I'm delighted, is you developed a protocol to give to colleagues like Marcus Hogan, who's on the call this evening, to help collect data for you in a robust way that you can actually use that data in your PhD, because you can't be everywhere, and the whales are
Yes.
kind of unpredictable. So I think, again,
Yes.
encouraging and engaging IWDG members to help your work is another great string to your bow.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I'm very grateful to, Nick and Marcus and all the people who has contributed with the data. Because otherwise they help to make this story, stronger and more significant. Absolutely.
It's good fun as well, isn't it? Flying drones. Before we move on to Emily, any questions or any questions from the floor? Yeah, please do. Okay. Fascinating use of drones, new to me. Thanks, Miguel. This is from Graham. They clearly disturb whales less than boats. Is there any evidence that whales or dolphins are aware of the drone or are disturbed at all?
Well, there's been a few studies about this topic. For sure, they are less disturbing that other uh, like boats, for example. Like if you have a noisy engine, for example, or if in the video that we couldn't see, we had a rib very close to the whale to tag it. Um, but I think, for example, for larger whales, I'd say they don't really care about drones. Especially, for example, I've been flying drones very low for blow sampling, and they don't really seem to respond to the presence of the drone, even when it's 2 or 3 meters above their heads. But I have read some studies on smaller cetaceans like dolphins or porpoises, and they do seem to be affected by drones. So it really depends on the size of the animals.
Yeah, I suppose know your study species. In my experience, certainly bottlenose dolphins are very aware of the drone. You can see them turning over and looking
Yes.
up at quite a height. I'm quite surprised, and they seem to be less disturbed in the estuary. Maybe it's to do with water turbidity. I don't know, but it's important to build up your own experience and follow guidelines, and they're quite precautionary. So as you gain more experience, and the guidelines will change as we learn. So. Fantastic. Any more questions, Angela? All good. Okay. Well, listen, don't go anywhere, Miguel. We'll move on to Emily.
Yes. Good
So
luck, Emily.
it's
Thank you.
so Emily's work is so
One more question.
there's another more question.
Yeah.
Go on.
Will I
Do please.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I compose myself. Prasad, I hope I pronounced that right. Thanks for your talk. Could you give some quick insights into what kind of tools did you use to process the images to get the body index and condition index? Oh, that technical question.
That's a technical question, yeah, and let's see if I can make a short a short one. Well, there are a series of software that has been developed specifically for photogrammetry measurements for cetaceans. This call specifically is called morphometrics, and this one is basically used to count the pixels that the body of the whale occupies in a digital image. And then you would, or I would, input that data into a modeling framework, which is basically an R script to run a model, derive the Jesus Christ, the body length and girth estimations, and then apply the formulas to derive this body index, body condition index. It's quite a complex thing. Like from a mathematical point of view, it's complex. Okay, so probably I couldn't explain it now, but it takes time, definitely. I
But
hope
you use a
I could
software
answer it.
program.
Sorry.
You use a
Say
software
sorry,
program.
Simon.
You use a software program, Miguel, don't you? There's been a few ones recently. Which do you import the
Yes.
images into?
The first or the software that is used to process the picture is Morphometrics.
Oh,
That's the
Morphometrics.
name
Okay. Yeah,
with X at the end. Yeah.
Well, next. Yeah, and that's a new one, isn't it? Because there's been a few different. I think you tried a couple at the start, didn't you, of your work?
Yes. There's been a few, but this one is very handy. Like it has a proper user-friendly framework, so it's quite easy to use. But yeah, it's very new. It was released, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago only. Like it's very new.
I wonder if Prasad is working in the area or is hoping to in the future, but because this is a rapidly changing field as well, you know.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, listen,
Absolutely.
I'll move on to Emily, sitting here very patiently.
Yes.
I was just thinking, like, we're so privileged and lucky to have humpback whale. I can't believe it. I mean, when we started this 30 years ago, the idea that we're actually studying humpback whales, measuring them, photo IDing them, sharing images around the North Atlantic, unbelievable, honestly. For us old heads like me and Porrick, it's just amazing where we're at. And all that information is being used for conservation, marine protected areas, as a prime example for your work, Miguel. And I suppose it moves us to Emily's kind of work, which is really trying to mitigate known threats to whales. Yeah. And not just in an Irish context, but actually internationally within the European framework. Yeah. But the work is on a globe. It's a global issue, really, isn't it? So we'll talk. Emily will talk a bit about her project. But when did you see your first whale, Emily?
Oh, my first whale probably when I was 12.
Oh, really?
I went whale watching with my family. We spent about 3 hours on a boat. Everyone got seasick, but then we saw this amazing sperm whale.
Oh, wow.
That was, just coming up, logging at the surface. It stayed there for quite a long time. And I remember some people being very confused. They were like, it's just a gray back in a gray ocean. And I was freaking out because it's a sperm whale and it was incredible. And then he finally went for a dive, and it must have been a deep dive because it showed its entire fluke as it went down. So, when people see the tail, when they see the fluke, they're happy. So the mood on the boat switched immediately.
It's iconic, isn't it?
It is. Everyone wants that picture, so we were all absolutely marveled by that.
Yeah. You're on a whale watching boat. It's so much different when you're out finding the whales for yourself. No one's taking it. I didn't ask you, Miguel, where was your first whale? When was the first whale you saw?
It was a long time ago, actually. It was killer whales in the Strait of Gibraltar. I think I was 5.
Wow. Well, they're not really whales; they're just big dolphins. What about a proper whale? Come on.
Proper whales. That was the right whale, the southern right whale in Argentina.
Oh,
nice
one.
Immediately exciting.
Not so bad. Yeah. Gosh, you're setting a high standard there.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
You are now working with the One Dolphin Group. We're lucky to have you. 3-year contract with us. Probably here forever. Whale Deal. Whale Deal. Tell us about Whale Deal.
Right. So I have a small presentation as well, just to kind of have a bit of visual. I also want to thank Miguel because we love seeing the drone footage, but it's good to know that it's not just a pretty picture. There's stuff going on behind it. It's absolutely fantastic. That was just a bit of an abstract slide showing. Did my bachelor's, I did an international master's, like Miguel did as well, and it brought me to ATU in Galway, which introduced me to Simon and the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. I also did some work as a dive instructor, which made my life much more interested in the ocean yet again, and all of that just kind of accumulated into the Atlantic Whale Deal. So that was good fortune all around. So the Atlantic Whale Deal, as Simon has already stated, it's a larger EU-funded project. It's over the course of 3 years, and it has 11 partners across the European Atlantic. Chilla can show right there. So it's a large group of people all working together, and our goal is to mitigate against ship strikes. Chilla, if you wouldn't mind. Fantastic. So when a ship and a whale collide with one another, it can be a big range of different ships. It might be a jet ski, or it might be a massive cargo ship. It might be a ferry. They can go at different speeds, but generally when these two meet, it's not a happy story, especially not for the whale. It can just cause stress, or it can cause fatal injuries. We want to mitigate this for a whole range of different reasons. For one, we just love whales. We want to protect them, and we want to help them get back to a healthy population status. And the loss of even one mature adult, as I'm sure you're aware, can be very problematic, as it can take a couple decades for that to be replenished, because they're so long lived. It takes so long for them to get mature, to find a mate, to be able to give birth, and then take care of that young. So it takes a really long time. And seeing as the populations aren't that healthy at the moment, losing one can just slow down the process of recovery so much. It can cause local extinctions and just generally bad idea. So we want to protect the whales. As they're such massive animals, they're of course having a big impact across all marine ecosystems. So if we can protect them and help conserve them, that's also going to be good generally for the ecosystem's health. And that will in turn promote carbon sequestration, big words, which is a natural way to help battle climate change. So the more whales, the more CO2 the ocean can take up. So there's a whole bunch of reasons to try and mitigate these ships from striking the whales. Charlotte, thank you. So the project is very broad, but what we are focusing on at the moment is whale detection technology, because with the Atlantic Whale Deal, we are trying to create this program that mariners can use. It will give an early warning, because the program itself will detect a whale and let them know that it's there, so they can either slow down their ship or maneuver around it. That way they can prevent striking it. We are looking at several different cutting-edge technologies, such as satellite imageries, acoustics, and onboard thermal cameras. IWDG is specifically looking at thermal cameras in our cold Irish waters, wanting to see how well that will work. Thank you. One of the ways that the thermal camera can be brilliant for detecting whales is that it can detect the blow of a whale, because the water vapor that comes from inside of the whale and then comes out when it exhales will have a very distinct heat signature against the cold water and the cold air. So that should be able to be picked up even clearer than maybe the body itself, which might have some water on it and the heat signature wouldn't be so clear. But we need a ton of data, a ton of images and pictures and videos from thermal cameras to then train an AI that can detect these whales, and we can use that AI in a program to warn mariners. So for that reason, I recently went out on my first ever survey on board the RV Celtic Explorer. Actually, Miguel was there as well as a bunch of other cetacean specialists. We also had seabird observers. We had a CTD or oceanography team on board as well. So a bunch of nerds together on a boat. It was absolutely great. And we went from Lisbon down to the Strait of Gibraltar and all the way back to Galway. I also brought my friend Wally, that you can see. That was the thermal camera from the CAI group. You can see why we nicknamed it Wally. And it was attached to the crow's nest and was filming 24/7. So on board, I was able to move the camera from my computer so that whenever there was a sighting, I could catch it. I was also able to just practice being a marine mammal observer, actually doing the sightings myself, which is a dream job. You stand there and look out at the ocean to try and find the whales and dolphins. It's just fantastic. And also got to learn more about acoustics, which if you're interested in, we are having another webinar on, I think Thursday, I believe. Yep. As well as learning just generally about what happens on a research vessel. So that was an absolutely great opportunity. We'll be trying to analyze that data once we get it all back. So the program is only just starting, and we're hoping to collect a ton of amazing data. If you want to learn more about ship strikes, there's a QR code which will link you to a video on them that is part of the Oceans Project, which is another EU project that IWDG is working on. Ship strikes is a big issue. A lot of projects are working on it. Feel free to also ask me any questions after the webinar through the email or the Instagram as well. But yeah, that's a bit the entire thing wrapped up.
Wow. A shout out to the Marine Institute. I mean,
Yeah,
we are
definitely
so privileged to have the Celtic Explorer,
Yeah.
now the Tom Crean,
It's
that
absolutely fantastic
scientists
vessels.
can
Yeah.
pitch for to bid for sea time to go out and get
Yeah.
dedicated crews. I mean,
Yeah, I definitely also have to thank ATU and our chief scientist on board of the RV Celtic Explorer, Maria Perez. It was her project that we were on, which was another acoustics project, but she invited a ton of researchers on board to make sure that, you know, that bow time is used optimally, like as many people on board at the same time.
They are the best times at sea with a bunch of nerds looking out to sea with a great cook on board and the smells
the
wafting up
food.
to the crow's nest.
Yeah.
I know. She
That's
put a
the
bit of
best
weight
thing.
on.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really run when you're on a ship, can
You know, it's funny because we don't think of ship strike. I don't think of ship strike as being a particular issue in Ireland. And as part of Miguel's PhD, he did some habitat modeling. So he took all that citizen science data that the whale and dolphin had collected over the last 20 years and started to look at models to try and see when and where they are. And you used shipping routes, didn't you, Miguel, as one of your variables to see at what point in Ireland do whales and ships coincide in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, it's true. Sorry, Emily.
No, go on. I was asking you that.
Sorry. Sorry. It's a question for me. Yeah.
Oh, we're all linked. It's all a big holistic view of the world we have here.
It's true. No, yeah. It was actually a very interesting study because of all the amount of data that was available there. I mean, it's fantastic. More than 20 years of data of large whale sightings in Ireland, which wouldn't exist otherwise, probably, especially for the humpback whale, for example. And it's true that there were some highlighted areas, especially in the eastern half of Ireland, of course, in the Irish Sea and the Celtic Sea, is where most of the shipping routes are. So those were kind of the difficult areas for whales.
And I suppose that's where most of our fin whales were. I mean, things are changing with climate change, so we're having to constantly update these as whales move into new areas. And of course, to get a ship to change direction or slow down is a really big deal.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. It requires voluntary effort as well from a lot of the mariners. We are also doing what Miguel did, making risk maps with the data IWDG has collected, but also with all the other partners trying to create, find out which zones are at highest risk so that maybe we bring this to legislative bodies and they can actually enforce changes, because a large fast ferry that's going quickly doesn't have a lot of time to move around. So at that point, you would almost need to mandate them to slow down, especially maybe in certain periods or areas.
But you've got to have robust data and science to back it up.
Yeah, you can't just go around and tell everyone to slow down. It won't work. But if we can show, like, listen, we have collected data from partners across Europe, across years, and we can show you right here, this area in this season is really, really vulnerable, then you have a much stronger argument to be made, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and we've seen elsewhere in the world that shipping companies will react and move and change routes if there's the evidence there for it. So it's all good. Have we any questions? Okay, Graham again. Graham, good luck with that research. Thank you, Graham. Some ships have forward-facing sonar that could be used as an extra tool for avoiding strikes, especially with whales which haven't yet surfaced and exhaled warm air.
Sonar is definitely something that was also considered. The main problem that we come across when it comes to sonar is that it does also produce noise and anthropogenic stressors for the animals. The frequency is not to the level that it will necessarily interact with every animal there, but especially smaller cetaceans can get very stressed when they have a lot of constant noise there. So we're trying to find less invasive ways of detecting them to not add even more sound into the water. It's especially something that you start paying more attention to when you get the chance to actually hear the acoustic world underwater. As I said, we went through the Strait of Gibraltar with a research vessel, and it was an acoustic study, and the difference between in the strait and outside of the strait, like the sound is just constant. So we're trying to avoid adding too much.
And what distance, I wonder, would sonar detect a whale in front of the vessel? I suspect in my head it's quite limited in terms of its detection distance. It is not
that far out. It can also cause, depending on the water turbidity and anything else in the water, it might kind of be unclear exactly what's going on. It might be disrupted.
Thermal cameras, what kind of detection range are you talking?
Thermal cameras in good conditions can do a couple of kilometers. It has been proven to be very effective in some studies. However, it's not been studied in great degree in every different environment. So one of the things that we're collecting is also environmental data. We have partners doing it in warmer waters as well during bad weather, good weather, to kind of see which environmental factors will cause issues. For example, we had fog going into Ireland, who would have guessed? And that, of course, interferes with the thermal camera because everything on the camera kind of gets water droplets on it. And just the difference between water and air and everything kind of gets a bit misty. The signatures of heat would still be visible, but it might not pick it up as far as it could. So ideally, we would want to use multiple methodologies and multiple technologies, not just one. Because there will always be limitations.
The way a lot of money's been invested, Europe have recognised it as an issue, and of course in the States it's actually critical for humpbacks and especially right whales that it's almost the issue with entanglement that's reducing. The population will not recover, so it's like critical. They're near extinction, these populations.
It's surprising. It's
any more questions? No.
I have one for you, Emily. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. No, it's very. I remember during the survey we had several blows during the trip.
Yes.
Do you know how many did you get?
So I
in
haven't
the camera,
received the footage itself from the cameras back yet. So the camera is from Austria, so we've sent it back, and they will actually send us all the data back once they've pulled it from the camera. But while we were working with the camera, we think we did get at least 3/4 of all the blows that we saw. We were very lucky that a lot of the blows were dead ahead of the ship, which was really good. And then we had several which were at 90 degrees, which were very easy for the camera to move quickly. Because, of course, with the blows, with any kind of movement with a whale, you don't always get that much time to detect it.
You're moving that?
Yes, we were able to move the camera with a computer. It was all very easy to use, actually. For such a high-tech equipment, you'd think you'd need to do something. But it was very user-friendly. It was also, the camera is also made to detect boats as well, so we had great fun looking at all of that. But yeah, we were able to catch a large amount of the blows and a ton of dolphins as well on the camera. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously that's the first cruise. Sorry, does that answer your question, Miguel?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Emily.
When's your next cruise?
I don't have one on the books yet. I'm trying, and I've got some very tentative but positive responses. A lot of the chief scientists I've spoken to are very interested in having some form of, part added to their project. And then, of course, we look at bursars and everything else to see where is there space to have another person on boat. I'm mainly looking within the Irish waters, but if another opportunity comes up, that would be great. And we're also looking at ferries, because the IWDG does run ferries constantly. We do a lot of surveys with them. We have good connections with them. So it might be interested to put the thermal camera on the ferry.
It's true, and that's something that we're going to work better out at the ferry survey. So anybody interested in getting sea time, getting some ship experience, then please keep in touch with the group, as we hope to improve our ferry survey kind of team in the future.
We can always use more people, and it's a great experience if you're starting out in the field or wanting to get experience.
Another question there? Yeah. Oh God, firing in now. Okay, Olivia, are you looking at shore-based citizen reported whale sightings, another source of whale detections for this program? Okay.
So for this program specifically, we are not working with detections from the public coming in, but we are using them in IWDG constantly. So we do use the public sightings collected by IWDG as a presence record to know which areas there might be which kind of species. But with the detection rates, we're more looking at a way to automatically process the detections on board of ships. So if you do have any sightings, if you're doing any kind of scientific citizen science, as was discussed in yesterday's webinar, please do send them over to IWDG, because they do get used. But in this program, it's mainly based on ship detections. So while people are on board of boats.
Excellent.
I would like to highlight here that my PhD wouldn't exist without that, what Emily has told right now. So it's very important. Yeah. So please submit the
Miguel,
data.
it never ceases to amaze me that, like, I think for your PhD when you started, we had over 1,000 photo ID images. So 1,000 times somebody had gone out, found a humpback whale, got in the position to photograph the whale, took a picture of the whale, quality picture, sent it in with all the metadata, when, who, what, where, so Miguel could use it 1,000 times. So how could you put a value on that? I mean,
It's
talk
amazing.
about people. I hate the word, actually, I don't hate the word citizen science. It's becoming less popular because some of the citizen science data is better than the professionally derived data.
It's a community coming
Exactly.
together, and
Yeah.
everyone cares and wants to work together, and we're seeing it in IWDG constantly.
And
Volunteers
I think
putting in the
it's incumbent on
time
us as a group that when people do give us that data, that we respect it, log it, and then use it in these conservation actions that the two of you talked about. So I think, you know, you've done yourself proud. We've done us proud that we are being able to collaborate on these really important projects. You know? So one last question, because I know time's ticking. What would Miguel and Emily say to young Miguel and Emily who are starting out at 10, 12, Madrid, 1.5 hours from the sea in Belgium? What would you say to a young person who wanted to follow in your footsteps and live the dream?
God, the most useful advice I think I got, which if you've been in the field for any amount of time, you'll be almost sick of hearing, is networking. Talk to people, joining in this webinar and asking questions and sending emails and going to talks and meeting the people who are doing the research now can make such an impact, because you never know who you'll work with in the future, but it will also give you opportunities. And just asking that question of, like, are you looking for volunteers? Is there any way that I can help? It's much more available now than it probably was 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. And people are always looking to get young people involved in science. So putting yourself out there, talking to people, asking that question of, like, hey, can I be useful? You might get a lot of ignored emails and no's, but most people are so excited just to have an enthusiastic young person on board. So yeah, don't be afraid. I used to be so afraid to send that email.
So you're telling people to harass me more.
Yes.
Great, thanks very much. Miguel,
yes, exactly.
what's your message to young Miguel?
I'd say that you have to follow your dreams, guys. I think that's my message. You may think that it's impossible or it's unlikely, or I don't know, you don't know where to start, but if you really like it and you really want it, just go for it, and it eventually comes.
Okay, I thought you both could tell me to watch more television and films. But anyway, and Aisling, thanks for sharing that with us.
That's
you
amazing.
know, we've always said if one person gets a spark or inspiration or from anything we do, then that's enough for us. So we've got to look out for Aisling's son to be harassing me in a few years' time. Marcus, asking questions is how I got sucked into the IWDG. Can't recommend enough. And I tell you, there's no better person than Marcus to ask us difficult questions. You know yourself, Miguel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we could talk here all evening because I'm in such great company, but I appreciate some people have children to feed and chickens to, cows to milk or whatever. Just to say that, you know, a product of a scientist is to write a scientific paper, and it's difficult. The first ones are always difficult. Actually, Emily, you've just submitted your first.
I have first offer submission. It's terrifying, but it's really exciting at the same time.
And it's very rewarding because Miguel's an old hand here now. He's banging them out from his master's, his PhD. You know, but they are important, and there's a certain style, and you know that's what we have to do. If you're a member of the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group, all the papers that we are involved in, all those that are relevant to Ireland or that use IWDG data, we put them on the member section of the website. So if you're a member, you'll have your unique login code and log into that, and you'll see all these publications, some of them by Miguel already. And I'm not sure we'll have yours because it's not IWDG data, but the ones from Whale Do will have it there as well.
But send me an email if you want to read mine. I will share it to everyone immediately.
I know. Breaking your spoiler, it's about skates and rays, isn't it?
Sharks.
Sharks. Okay.
Heavy metal and sharks.
All right.
Yeah.
We like sharks. We like sharks.
Small
okay. So I better wrap it. We're over the hour. Chilla will throw me out. Just to say thanks very much, Emily.
Thank
Miguel,
you for having me.
You know, you're great. Both of you are just great.
Yes.
Thanks to Chilla for hosting us. Tomorrow is same time, same place. Another webinar in the series. What's on tomorrow?
Photo ID, right?
Photo
Yeah,
ID. Oh my God! So,
So
even more
you
stuff.
know,
Absolutely
learn how
fantastic.
Miguel had his data collected.
And then Thursday we have acoustics, and Friday we have in person in Cotulla and Sweeney in Kilkee. So please do join us. Is it 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock in Kilkee? Yep. And you will be on the panel as well, Emily.
I
So
will.
we'll get more of Emily.
So come and then ask me questions, and then I can regret my advice.
You haven't had enough Emily. Come and get more of Emily. I think that's it. If there's no more questions, we'll wrap it there.
Yeah, and thank you, Simon, for sharing and asking all the good questions.
Always delighted to be here. And thanks to Science Week for helping us do this evening. Chilla's whispering to me. Are we good to go, Chilla? Okay, so till next time. Adios.
Thank you. Gracias.